Ship is entering the peak heating phase of flight.
Looks like we can see some clouds down there as we pass through 70 kilometers altitude.
Yeah, the sun's starting to come up again. Ooh, there we go.
There we go.
Skirt is intact so far this time. If you watched Flight 10, you saw we entered with a little bit missing. That was ultimately traced to a little bit of buildup. We dumped prop on the way. We had a little bit of solid propellant buildup, and then either static discharge or the plasma ignited it, took out a tiny bit of that skirt, some of the aft flaps, but Starship, again, was able to fight through it, make it all the way to that landing burn. We addressed that, changed some of our prop dump con-ups, though, so should not be seeing that this time around. And as a reminder, in addition to these missing tile tests, we're doing kind of a unique flight on the way in. It's going to do what we call a banking maneuver. So while we're still going supersonic and even hypersonic, we're doing kind of a banking turn. And then we'll do a pretty aggressive turn right as we get into the subsonic and start doing our belly flop. And that's designed to essentially be the approach that we would do on a return to launch site and a tower catch. So don't be surprised if we see the ship start to turn and make a few maneuvers as it makes its way down to the Indian. And fun fact, even though we're doing all this turning, we're essentially targeting the exact same spot in the Indian Ocean we went to last time. All right, just about 12 minutes to go. Still looking good. That gives a pretty good view of those aft flaps where, again, on the leading edge, I think it might be on the one on the other side, we had some tiles removed with no backups behind it. So again, we're really trying to stress some of the most sensitive areas around Starship, where basically if you lose a tile, it's the worst possible spot. And if we're able to make it through this, then that tells us quite a bit about just how resilient this vehicle is.
Yeah, and that shot we just had earlier was looking at what we call the business end of Starship with all the Raptor engines. And those are the engines that we're going to be expecting to light for that flip and landing burn, hopefully in about 10 minutes once we get through reentry. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, looking at E3, that's the one we did the relight on. So it's 2 for 2 so far. We'll see if it can go 3 for 3.
Yeah.
All right, we can see that speed just continue to bleed off under 20,000 kilometers an hour. Ship's still holding together.
Yeah, and if you look in the bottom right, looks like we've made it all the way to the Indian Ocean. We're coming up kind of near Australia, the west side of Australia there, so pretty crazy. We're only 56 minutes in, and we've made it all the way, halfway around the world. It's actually a good demonstration of a future capability we hope to have on Starship, where we will do point-to-point transport on Earth. So essentially travel anywhere in the world in about an hour or so, which is going to be pretty crazy. Imagine going from New York to Sydney in 1 hour instead of the 20 hours it takes currently.
And a reminder, so this camera is, we see some of the heat rate picking up a little bit. And this camera is embedded right in the end of one of those forward flaps, so you see it moving around. That's the flap adjusting to maintain control. Looks like we're getting into our bank maneuver. Now power sliding through the atmosphere.
External temperatures are coming down. Vehicle is now at maximum dynamic pressure.
All right, that was basically our reverse max Q, so most aerodynamic stress that it's going to see during reentry, we just passed through it. So we're past that, we're past peak heating. Ship's still holding together. So we're currently in this bank maneuver. We're gonna see it kind of roll over and do a pretty significant shift as we get down closer to the subsonic speeds.
Yeah, and that bank maneuver that Dan's mentioning is all in part of us to learn about the guidance, navigation, and control for return to launch site missions. So in the near future, we're hoping to return the ship back to the same pad we just took off on 59 minutes ago, and we've got to do some of these pretty dynamic bankings to make that trajectory work out.
All right, the light show kind of calming down as we're starting to move into the lower parts of the atmosphere. We should hit transonic, so hitting that transition between moving faster than the speed of sound and below the speed of sound in just about 3.5 minutes. Our landing burn should happen right around an hour and 6 minutes after launch, so we should be just about 6 minutes away from that. You can see lots of daylight. Everybody cross your fingers, see if our range team is able to get out there and provide any surprise views as Starship makes its way down. Oh, it's like they heard me. Ready and waiting, let's go.
Dan, you just spoke that view into existence there. And again, all brought to us by Starlink.
Maneuver has started.
All right, there we go. So we're now starting into our really heavy bank maneuver. Again, this does almost like a half circle loop to our actual trajectory. We're heading to the same exact splashdown point, but we're kind of doing a more roundabout way to get there, where it's this kind of big, long half-moon loop and then a really aggressive kind of twist right at the very end. And that would line us up with the launch tower. Starship, on a return to launch site, would fly over the tower, do a quick landing burn flip, and then come down for catching the arms.
How about that S38 decal there, staying strong on that view we just had?
Good to see the numbers back on.
Yeah.
All right, should be hitting transonic in about 2.5 minutes. Landing flip coming up in about 4. Pretty clouds there in the Indian Ocean today. Again, yeah, we changed our launch times. We launch in the evening now, so we get these daytime views down in the Indian Ocean. One of the things we're really looking for, the reason we have the drone, other than, yeah, that looks really cool, is we're able to kind of see the ship. We can only see so much from these cameras. You can't see like the vast majority of the heat shield. So we throw these buoys out there. We've got there's...
You spoke it again, Dan. There it is.
They're playing with me in the control room. All right. But we have these buoys out there. We have these drones that we're trying to see externally how the heat shield held up. Everybody saw from Flight 10 it had a little bit of a paint job, a little bit of a reddish hue. That was from those metallic tiles that we had tested, kind of oxidizing really rapidly in that plasma and then spreading those little oxide particles all over the heat shield. No metal tiles on this flight, so not expecting to see that.
Dynamic pressure is coming down.
Hope nobody gets seasick. All right, coming up on transonic shortly. It's about 2.5 minutes of landing burn.
Yeah, and once we get to around the 15-kilometer altitude mark, that's where we have a lot of flight history.
Starship is transonic, starting the belly flop phase of flight.
Yep, that belly flop phase that we perfected in the suborbital campaigns, we're entering that now.
Right, starting to get those Raptors ready. Should be 2 minutes away from landing burn. Again, we're going to do a flip. After we ignite those engines, we'll go from 3 down to 2 for the final phase of the landing burn and look for another soft splashdown, hopefully by our buoy and drone, which are hanging out, ready and waiting for a ship.
Seeing all 3 center engines have entered the chill phase.
All right, less than a minute to go.
The ship is making its turn for final approach.
And here's this kind of aggressive final turn that would essentially position it so it's right behind the launch and catch tower. Flaps holding strong. Landing burn in just under 20 seconds.
Ship landing startup.
There's our landing burn. Three down to 2.
Starship has landed.
As we said, we're not planning on recovering the ship today. Hey, welcome back to Earth, Starship.